I wanted to make something scary for this Halloween. Let me tell you, it was a struggle. Hi, welcome to my studio. I'm Jess. I'm a collage artist, and I'm so happy that you're here. This Halloween, I wanted to make something truly scary. And that totally happened. But what also happened was a journey of self-discovery. So if that sounds like fun to you, then let's get started. Unlike most collages, I had a goal in mind with this one. I knew I wanted to find something that frightened me. This image of a snake, maybe, but I don't actually fear snakes. I kept looking and eventually I landed on this phone, and I knew I wanted to use it because, weirdly enough, talking on the phone with strangers is one of the worst things I could possibly be asked to do. And yeah, does that make me sound a little bit Looney Tunes? Maybe. That's okay. Hey, while we're hanging out, I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me in the studio, watching my videos, commenting. It really makes a big difference to me, and I appreciate that you could be anywhere on the internet and you're choosing to hang out with me. It means a lot. Once I had finished cutting out the hand and the phone, I kept looking. I remembered this story about spiders from ages ago. But I'm not really afraid of spiders either. So I played around with this idea, but it didn't end up sticking because, I don't know, the creepy crawlies, man, they just don't really bug me. Do I want them in my house? No, but I'm not scared. Frankly, maybe I should examine why I had an instant visceral reaction when I saw the hand with the phone as a fear response versus the creepy crawlies. I don't know what that's about, but I probably got some thinking to do. Pretty much striking out at every turn in National Geographic, I started to look elsewhere, and I had this astronomy book on my desk from previous collage sessions. So even though there's nothing scary in it, I pulled it out in case there were any cosmic backgrounds. I was thinking maybe I could go in like a cosmic horror sort of direction. I also pulled out this book about ladies' handbags and the history of them, thinking maybe I could get like a funky person to sit on top of the phone. You know, expectations are calling. I considered cutting out hands and having the hands come out of the receiver. Unfortunately, that was a bust, so I set it aside and kept looking through this astronomy book. I did like this background, and I considered using it for the collage. This next book was a Reader's Digest The Way We Lived century wrap-up, and it has tons of really great images, if you don't mind some of the weird sepia tones that they used. Because this was the maiden voyage of this book, I was able to go through and look at some of the images that I was initially drawn to. The first one I cut out was this lady with her arms crossed. I love her fashion. I love her vibe. She's so over it. And And then the next one I cut out was this lady who I think is some sort of like Coney Island performer, a working woman, if you will. And the last one I cut out was this image of these three iconic ladies from the 50s. And here is where my ideas are starting to take shape. It took forever to cut these ladies out, so I had a lot of time to think. And one of the things that was going through my head as I was cutting these ladies out was the representation of womanhood and femininity. And while I do love a poofy, lovely dress, I do think that, the option to dress in suits or, whatever you want is really important. It's, it's a part of that freedom that I think we all enjoy. And I was also thinking about some of the rhetoric that I heard even when I was a kid, like young girls saying, I'm not a feminist because I like to have the door held open for me, or I'm not a feminist because I like children. And, I think that those are really odd things to say. Feminists don't dislike children, not as a rule. I mean, I'm sure that there are some, just like there's some people who are not feminists and they don't like children. It takes all kinds. My point is that feminism, to me, the movement, was about gaining equal access to things like opportunity and respect. And it's about having the option to stay home with kids and be a homemaker or have a career. One of the things that I've heard against feminism is that women have ended up being expected to do both career and child rearing. And I don't think that that is the fault of feminism. Part of the reason that I could open a bank account on my own or purchase property or vote is because feminism happened. Unfortunately, our society has not fully caught up with some of those changes. Yeah, this all to say, this was when the real self-discovery kind of opened up, and I realized that that's what I wanted this collage to be about. The fear that we might backslide into that belief that there's only one valid way to be a woman. I fear this depiction because it's so restrictive. It's so limiting and confining as to be a nightmare for anyone who doesn't fit the mold. A good deal of my work is about the inner self and how there's so much more inside us than there is outside us. So I suppose it makes sense that as I was going through this journey, all these pieces stood out to me as fragments of my own fear. And of course, now that my fears are all assembled, like the Avengers, I just need to find a background. So I opened up this book of William and Morris, essentially wrapping paper. I love the patterns here. All of them are beautiful. And I used these three ladies because their clothing is the most disparate, so I needed to find a background that would work color-wise with all of the various patterns that they're wearing. Ultimately, I landed on this mostly blue background. I thought they stood out the best on it, and I liked how vibrant and energetic it looked. I also really liked how the lady in the suit, along with that blue background, kind of has a monochromatic feel. Initially, I was thinking I would use as little of this paper as possible, and I was trying to arrange things on it, but it was just too small. So slowly but surely, I start opening this thing up and decide that this really feels like a piece that needs to have a lot of room, you know, a lot of space so that the characters can all have their own area, if you will. So I was really liking the space between the characters, but it did feel like I was missing something to give it a more obvious meaning, I suppose. So I looked no further than this Vanity Fair magazine, which had an ad for Clarisonic and some words that, when creatively cut, seemed to work perfectly. I waffle around for a while trying to figure out where to put the words, but eventually I land on a good placement. I still need to glue this down. It's not because I don't like it and I'm not going to, but I just need to find a substrate to put it on that is large enough. There's just not a lot of context here because you can't really see the rest of my desk, but it's big. I think that's it. That is it for me today in the studio. I do want to thank you so much for hanging out with me. I had a great time and I hope that you did too. If you want to spend a little longer in the studio with me, then check one of these videos out. Okay, I think that's it. Bye! See ya! Bye!